Hello everyone, it's me. I am back again with another video. I will do more of a personal update on my live either Sunday or Monday upcoming. Today is June 28th, 2025 at 11:20 a.m. I am doing a video today that relates to some of the previous videos that I have done on aliens, extraterrestrials, the connection between these things: elementals, cryptids, nature spirits, dimensional beings, whether they be multi, inter, or upper or lower dimensional. Okay? We're also going to be connecting that with Bigfoot and Sasquatch, rather, and with UFOs, the past civilizations, because I believe that possibly Bigfoot or Sasquatch, rather, could, I think, one, they're forest guardians, and two, that they could have been part of a past civilization, and that's why the UFOs are still connecting with them today, because that's what those beings in the maybe part of the spiritual hierarchy and the natural order of things. Like I said, I've always had a feeling they're spiritual forest guardians. Okay, so let's see. Oh, and then we're gonna actually get into the spiritual hierarchy, which is like a military order of things, but only briefly, and how it connects with the government black projects, or like, say, secret military. What did I say that was? Uh, Sectors, orders, like a group of people that would be assigned to these supernatural paranormal cases. Like when you see the military show up, they may look like in the same type of camouflage uniform, but this is how they would blend in. They wouldn't wear an identifiable, abnormal looking outfit that could be recognized. They would just look like regular military people in the regular military camo, okay? And then we're going to connect that with stargates and portals in the forest and the woods. So I actually have a audio that I recorded, which I'm going to show you a lot of visual pictures and examples of what I've been talking about in this part of the video, but also in the next part. I recorded it a few days ago before I got sick, so we will recap a little bit of what I talked about in that, but not much, because there was some things that I forgot because I was excited into, well, kind of like um, stimulated in the subject, so my mind was going in different places. I talked about a different few stories, so let's just begin. So we're going to start off with Missing 411 and David Paulides, where people go missing in, what's the, like, abnormal circumstances, unexplainable circumstances, and found in unlikely, very, very impossible places they couldn't get to. We're going to get into it. Just let me read to you some of the videos that okay. So the first one is people who disappeared after vanishing and they come back with no memory. Okay. Then there is, oh, that's the last one. There is, with David Paulides, craziest missing person cases. They don't want you, the public, to know what's really going on in the national parks. We're going to discuss that a little bit. And then the last one is David Paulides on Missing 411 with these unexplainable cases, and the spontaneous formation, hi Salem, of portals. Okay, portals in the woods. Now, all right. So with David Paulides, I heard of him years ago. He is an author. Let me just, I think I read about him in the second part, but he is a retired police officer. He has a YouTube channel, website. I should have listened to that clip, but I didn't. Today, like right about now, is when I've been feeling well enough to talk about this. So, but he is a retired police officer. There is a group of people that work with him on his Can-Am projects, And so what drew me to this was initially, I remember that when I was into cryptids and abnormal things happening within the woods, I came across David Paulides. And one of the things about his cases that I found most interesting, I made some notes here, is that when he tried to get the government to um, provide a list of missing persons, they were very reluctant to do so. They even said that they didn't have record of it. So they were very reluctant to divulge information. And they had put high, almost impossible for the regular person to afford prices on the information requested, even with the Freedom of Information Act. So with that, and I found it very peculiar, like, oh, Salem, no, why wouldn't they have record of these missing, especially in these missing people and the numbers that they go missing in, you know, it was just all around a peculiar situation that I was hearing when I first started listening to these cases. So they're very investigative reports too, like these certain cases. Of course, things have been ruled out. Um, and it's to prevent the contamination, right? Like I was taking notes, I wrote this down, and what I was thinking about the contamination of the cases that do not pertain to the subject of unexplainable cases, you know, the ones that hello, hi, um, the ones that are just very bizarre, okay? So things have been ruled out like animal attacks, people who have mental health issues that have gone to the woods to unalive themselves, um, human involvement, natural causes due to environmental factors. And these cases all have things in common with each other. So a lot of the times the dogs can't find a scent or don't want to track. And I often wonder if they may know instinctively that that's not a predator that they want to follow, or even just a creature rather, because I don't necessarily think that Sasquatch is a predator. There are other ones, like in cases of Dogman. Um, So when they use a helicopter, they can't find a heat signature. Like it's like these people disappeared into thin air, and in some cases they do. And this is why I brought up all these topics about the portals. In my second part of the video, I talked about the 2-year-old that was 9 to 10 miles away, and found in a place where he just couldn't get to. You know. So let's see, these people are found a lot of the times in boulder fields. Boulder fields. And this is why I connected to things like fairy rings and folklore of people being taken, because gnomes are known to be in boulder fields. They're earth beings. And so this is how it connects to the elementals of earth, air, fire, and water, which, you know, as I talked about before, are the gnomes, sylphs, undines, and salamanders. Undines are mermaids, like water beings, water spirits, and the salamanders are reptiles, like reptilians. Okay, we've gone over this stuff in previous videos about this subject, about the elementals. Okay, so it's been said for years that they thought that Bigfoot was dimensional, but you got to think that they live in the woods, they know the woods, and they would know places like underground tunnels, rocks they could move to go into one that they've set it up to make it look like it's not that. You know what I'm saying? They've eluded us for this long, so they have intelligence, consciousness, and also the skills or senses that an animal would have, 10 times the strength of what a gorilla would have. That's what I'm saying. It seems like a guardian, you know? Um, So, okay, a lot of the time, this is one thing I forgot to mention in my second part, is that when the people go missing, or right when there's about to be a search and rescue effort put on, the weather changes drastically. A storm, a thunderstorm, fog, heavy snow, to make it very difficult, if not impossible, for them to track and search. And this happens, it's not something that was like once. This has happened many times. That's why he's recorded these things like this, because he's observed it this way, recognized the pattern of it. And so, yeah, weather changes, storms, fog, heavy snow, drastic weather changes that come on out of nowhere. And of course, elemental spiritual beings of earth, air, fire, and water would have something to do with that. They could do that, absolutely. And yeah, as they go missing or at the time of rescue. A lot of the times, how I connected it to even portals is a lot of these cases you'll hear people will be on a trail. The person will either fall behind or go ahead a little bit of the main group and then just disappear. They don't catch up, and the people don't catch up to them. And they're just not found. They disappear like they were just there, they say. They were just there. And so they just disappear. A lot of the times, like children are taken, but like the 2 year old, but he wouldn't be able to explain what happened to him anyway. At 2 years old, you can hardly speak, and you would have a limited vocabulary. And even I was just after I was doing my research, that man had been interviewed again as an adult, and he still doesn't remember what happened to him. But he was such a young age that he wouldn't be able to recollect that, or even to be able to articulate it at 2 years old, you know? That's why some people, or maybe the children will say the gnomes took me, or the fairies took me, or the little people took me. You'll hear people say this, different ways that they can articulate it. And what I'm leading into is that a lot of the cases, people, even adults with intellectual developmental disabilities, will be taken. And they won't have the ability, like I said, to articulate what happened to them. They won't know how to explain it. Um, Children like with autism that are nonverbal. Oh my goodness, what's the matter? What? Mervin's doing the horny dance, so I guess everybody's all upset here. Okay. So yeah, or people with illnesses like chronic diabetes. Yeah, it's almost like it's not that they're targeting the weak, because remember, a lot of these people are returned. There's only some of them that aren't. It's not that they're taken and and unalived. You know, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say. I think you are, but I'm just so worried about what the I. Anyway, you get it. Um, but there are cases like that. Okay, but it doesn't mean it's all like that. And I believe that this is why, because it is so complicated and with so many things involved, that it can be a lot. And in a lot of cases, what happens is, um, I just lost my train of thought. Hmm. Oh, it will be mixed. Like, I think sometimes they may cause accidental death. Yes. Um, Even just to die of shock. I mentioned that a little bit in part two. Let me see here. So then, okay. Oh, right. So there's compass malfunctions, and that would indicate a change in magnetic changes or magnetism, which would indicate maybe that there is an opening or something that would cause a disturbance within the natural magnetics of our own realm. It would come like maybe there's a portal, or an opening, a tear somewhere that would be affecting how you're like almost like a Bermuda Triangle, how it happens there, where your compass will be like because it can't forget or can't figure out where magnetic north is because of this disturbance, right? Because it's a non-natural circumstances. So we'll have compass malfunction, changes in the environment, and a lot of the times you'll hear people will get the feeling that they're being watched, or they will get the feeling that they're not welcome in the place that they're at. The body hair stands up on end. You'll feel these things in the environment. And this is over many, 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 many cases that I've listened to. Now, what was it about? I think I read that one comment in part 2. Let me just see here really quick. Yeah, because there's like a he said he would like to know when someone is found days later, blah 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 blah. Yeah, especially if an expert hiker is found weeks later drowned in a creek with boots neatly placed on the bank with and minimal decomposition. It's almost like people are placed there after the area had been checked over and over again, and then they go over and there's the body. Like it just popped out of nowhere. Like they couldn't have missed it. There's really, really weird shit that isn't normal, you know? And that's what drew me to the subject. It was years ago, but I didn't put two and two together until recently. You know, these national parks and forests may be designated areas, and maybe they even have treaties like with these beings and the UFOs and elementals and all of this going on to keep these places like a sacred space for their peoples to live. I mean, I told you they were angry with us. Think about what we've done to the waters. Think about what we did to the forest, how we burned things down and cut things down and tortured the animals and deforestation, all these things. So I've said for many, many years that I feel like the spiritual realm is upset with us, and a lot of these beings may be taking out their feelings upon humans in different ways. Now, a lot of the cases, I will say, that I feel that it was curiosity and that they're smart enough to know for their own protection to keep themselves safe from us. Because I've said this, I just talked about this morning on Thinker Thunker's video. Because I will add everything. I have so many good links below to check in the pinned comment in the description. Interesting stories, the videos that I named off David Paulides, and the stuff about everything we're going to talk about today will be linked below, and I encourage you greatly to go and check it out, listen to it, and read these things for yourself. Okay. Um, but uh, so I've lost my train of thought again, but that's okay. We'll just continue. Um, yeah, there's the comment that I read was about someone seeing a portal, but I've heard of people walking into a space that they didn't even realize was there and then finding themselves somewhere else and they backed back out of it. That was probably their best bet. They backed right back out and got out that way. I think that some people may get lost, get curious in these other spaces and get lost. So, you know, and then maybe encounter something that they don't survive, or they could choose to stay. And the reason why it says being found 5 days later, like I talked about with Travis Walton's case, in his mind, he was only gone like an hour, but in our time, he was gone 5 days. I've heard many stories about time differences where time will work faster or slower depending on where you are. Okay? Pretty sure I talked about that in part 2. I just don't want to go over the same stuff because I don't think that second part with audio is useless. But I missed stuff that was important that I should talk about. So yeah, expert hunters go missing, people that you wouldn't expect, people that have experience in the woods and the outdoors and have so for many years, a lot of these high risk places for missing cases will usually have, here, go on, Sam, go in the windowsill, buddy. Will be called Devil's Peak, Devil's Ridge, Devil's Pass. And if you know anything, well, a lot of people do, in Christianity, they call all of that demonic for a reason. And it's not that it is all directly dangerous, it's that a lot of people, even myself, I wouldn't go out looking for this, that's looking for trouble. You know what I mean? And we can go into it in much more detail because I'm not trying to make it seem all sinister, but you can get hurt. And also, I'm trying to protect these beings. And that's why I was talking about this morning, saying that, with Thinker Thunker, he's like, I wish the government would just tell us. Well, they can't, because the moment they do, people will be going out to hunt them. People will be going out to capture them for the zoo and for live events. Come see the Bigfoot. It'll be devastating, you know, for their species. And also, it may not work out so well for the people who go and try to do that, which I remember getting into a big debate in groups and stuff like that years ago on Facebook about that.
Hello again. So, what I was trying to say about Bigfoot is that one of the reasons why they don't release the truth about that is because think about all the YouTubers that be going out to try to catch video of Bigfoot for starters. Then we have the hunters and the people that think, they could prove something by going out and thinking they're Arnold Schwarzenegger going after the predator. Um, people like that. There's just a lot of people that would go out and get themselves hurt. It would also endanger the Sasquatch species as a whole. So I just wanted to add that in that I remember debating that about people because I remember seeing that there was a bounty put out like $1 million if anybody could find Bigfoot dead or alive and bring it to them. Um, and there's stuff like that you have to think about. So I just wanted to finish off there. Having a difficult time getting all my recordings in, but I might be successful to be able to continue this way. We'll see what happens. Again, I'm going to add in, first of all, the Patty Bigfoot film, Big Patterson. There's this film from 1967 that was one of the first ever recordings of Bigfoot, Sasquatch. So, again, I think of them as forest guardians. You're dealing with something that has the senses of an animal, also the consciousness and intelligence. A lot like us, they've eluded us and hid from us for quite some time. And, it explains that they could, in fact, be part of the past civilizations, like I said, linking them with the UFOs and such. But there's basically down the middle. Like you'll have some instances where maybe the Bigfoot will be aggressive, but then other times not. So again, indicating that they're all not the same. Okay, so I just wanted to make that clear. I might try to tackle this again in my live, but for now, this is where I might leave it. I'm going to put some information again below about all these things, including stuff about Dogman. And if I add any videos, they will be in this video here. It might be a little bit of like a variety video, but it's all going to be under the same topics, okay? So if I might have put the video on top of this recording. So if I have, I will put the information below. But this was taken in 1967. And yeah, it's never been debunked. Thinker Thunker does great work with it. So you can check a lot out on his channel about this. And like he slows down the video and whatnot. So it's stabilized and all kinds of stuff. He does really good work. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Take care. I'll talk to you again in just a moment. Bye bye.
Hi again, it's me. My video was cut off, so we're going to continue with audio only because I can use my little voice recorder program. I'm going to start off in this section to talk about portals And what I was about to lead into was the symbolism of what you'll see in TV and movies where there'll be doors in the woods, like an actual wooden door, which I should have a visual for you right now in various ways of the door. Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome back to another video. Today is June 25th, 2025 at 8:49 p.m. I hope you're well. Tonight, I want to talk to you about something that I think about now and again. It is the, how do I put this? So it's the fact how people go missing under mysterious circumstances, sometimes with paranormal, supernatural implications. Now, what I was going to start off with is how it relates to people going missing in national parks, on top of mountains, around large bodies of water, sometimes rivers. Um, but also, I want to connect it to the elementals, which are also nature spirits, and alien abduction. And I'd like to begin with David Paulides and his investigations with Missing 411. If you're not familiar, today we're only doing audio, and I'm going to use video or picture and possibly video if I can find it, examples of the things that I am talking about. So today we're starting with David Paulides when Missing 411. Now, I heard of David Paulides years ago when I was looking into Bigfoot and stuff like that, looking into kind of formal cases with unknown explanations, and that's how I kind of found him. And it says David Paulides is an American former police officer who is now an investigator and writer known primarily for his books dedicated to proving the reality of Bigfoot and other cryptids, and establishing the Missing 411 quote unquote conspiracy theory. Missing 411 is a series of self published books and films which document cases of people who have gone missing in national parks and elsewhere, and assert that these cases are unusual and mysterious, contrary to data analysis which suggests they are not actually actually, statistically mysterious or even unexpected. Wikipedia. And we're going to explain all the ins and outs of that. David Paulides has a website, missing411.com, and he also has a YouTube channel called Can-Am Missing Project. And the Can-Am Missing Project is a group of retired police officers, search and rescue experts, and other professionals who are dedicated to researching on scene, investigating, and generally understanding the issues associated with people who go missing in the wilds of North America. This has typically been a project that is intensely worked by search and rescue teams starting when the victim is reportedly lost, and usually continuing for a following of 7 to 14 days. Okay, so we know about stuff like this. So you can read more about him on his YouTube channel. But the reason why I'm bringing it all up is because I was watching a video, and it was on, there's a spooky channel called Nuke's Top 5. Sometimes on this channel, like many places, you'll find stuff that is clearly fake, or it's not, but it isn't like Third Phase of the Moon. Let's put it that way. So he really does his best to find clips that are pretty decent, okay? And sometimes you will see on that channel, I'm going to focus on the water spirits this time, but in water you will see what looks like a reflection of a person that is under the water, usually with long black hair, a white old style dress, sometimes known as, in Spanish, the crying woman at the river. I forget who she's called, but I might remember later. But anyway, I watched a a cartoon, and it showed the water elementals, and they look like that. It reminded me of a lucid dream I had once where this really creepy lady came down the hallway who had long, wet hair, long fingers with claws. She looked like she had come from out of the water. She was wet. She kind of reminded me of Samara from The Ring, the girl that crawls out of the well. But I just want to talk about how I realized that this this issue, or this subject rather, has gone back a really long time. I think that we've just had different perspectives about it, different understandings, and at one time definitely more knowledge about it. Like, it was part of our daily life. And I think the longer we strayed away from the time of like the golden age, and where spirituality uh was taught and honored, that we kind of lost our spiritual heritage in this way. So we kind of forgot, sort of. So we have people going missing in national parks, other places in the woods. You hear people going missing in the woods quite often, and a lot of the times it can be explained. It can. But I'm talking about the times that it can't be explained. Like, David Paulides has cases where, and I understand that sometimes just bad people are in the woods and da da da. Um, he has cases where the person is found naked, face down in a river. And yes, we understand about hypothermia and, erratic behavior with that and stuff like that. Their clothes are perfectly folded and the shoes sat beside them. And there's no, like, visible causes of death. It's almost like they just died of fright in some cases, like their heart just stopped. I will put as many cases as I can below in the description and in the pinned comment. You should always check there for more information. But I didn't actually think that, you know, I think that your mind fights you. What is it? Cognitive dissonance. It fights you from what you think that you know. And I had spoke before about how I really didn't believe in Bigfoot until I found video on, of course, I seen the Patty Bigfoot video from years ago, but it was on Thinker Thunker, where I had seen really good information on that. Um, so with the nature spirits, recently I saw a video, and this would be in the woods, in the forest. Um, See, there's different elements, right? So that's why I mentioned, large bodies of water, the forest, mountains, stuff like this. So in the forest, I've heard a lot over the years that sometimes people will just be walking through the woods and they'll walk through a space and they end up somewhere else. There was a video that I saw recently where there was a elderly woman who went missing for a few days, but she wasn't dehydrated, she wasn't hypothermic, she didn't have, starvation. And you'll find cases like this with kids that they disappear in one place and end up miles far away. Under 2 years old, their feet aren't all cut up. How did they get that distance? The dogs couldn't pick up the scent. There's really interesting cases. Then it's not just me that thought they were weird. This is why these people are talking about them, you know? And then it was overnight. And how did the child not die of hypothermia? It gets really cold in the forest overnight and whatever. But there were no human scents to be picked up. The dogs just sit down, like they lose the scent completely. And so with this, I'm thinking that with people just walking into other places, these are open portals, probably naturally occurring or maybe created by the beings on the other side. You hear about stuff like legends about fairies and fairy rings. And the legend of that is if you step inside of it, they can take you to their world. And sometimes not all these beings are good, you know? Sometimes you'll have stories where you'll go to this world and the beings will eat you. And it kind of makes me think about cattle mutilation. That the same type of beings that, they're probably some of them are eating meat. Maybe they come in and out of portals and take these animals for what they need and da da da. I mean, if when it comes to extraterrestrials and aliens, technically they would be part of these elemental nature spirits as well, the way that I see it. And so I wonder, if this is why they're doing this also. They come from spaces in between spaces. So I mentioned before about how they go inside of volcanoes and on top of mountains. A case where it's on top of the mountains makes me think of the Dyatlov Pass, where all those people were killed. And I've seen a lot of different documentaries, different theories about what happened to them. There was a picture that one of them took that looks like they were being followed by Bigfoot or some type of creature. I remember a story with David Paulides where he talked about a woman that was out camping with her family, and she had gone for a walk and then gone missing, and they realized that something had chased her uphill. Something made her run uphill that was intelligent enough to chase her uphill. She was someone that was out in the woods, an experienced camper, knew the rules of the forest and all that. And normally you run downhill to get to safety, right? But this had chased her uphill. It gets to a cliff edge where they found her because she did not survive. They found her at the bottom of the cliff. The distance in which she covered, they said that it would be impossible for her to jump that far, and that they concluded that something very strong must have thrown her. But then again, also, her body was moved afterwards, and she was sexually assaulted after she was passed on. So, all of this, especially where the people just go missing without any trace of them. And I realize that if you fall into a river, that the body could get caught on an underwater log. But there's sometimes where they search and search and search and they never find it. Especially when there's no large predators and this and that. And it makes you wonder, were they taken? Like, think about, oh my goodness, what was this? Oh, Travis Walton. And the thing is that time works differently over there. So he may have only been gone an hour to him, but to us it was 5 days. The elderly lady in the woods, she was gone 3 days, but she didn't realize it. Like I said, their bodies don't show the malnourishment, the dehydration, the hypothermia. There are these portals that, and sometimes you can see them. It just depends. Some people won't be able to see them. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but you'll be able to see into other realms. There's some people you won't even see them, you'll just end up in another space. It might even look like the same forest, but things might be slightly different. And that's because you might have walked into another one of these realms where these unseen beings live. And sometimes I think that they can come out of these portals. I've heard for years that Bigfoot is multidimensional, that it can come in and out of these unseen realms, and this would explain why there are UFO seen around where Bigfoot are and such, because they're probably related in the same groups of spiritual elementals, you know? Like the water person, it's not just mermaids. There's different types of spiritual entities, and different cultures have different names for them. There's different kinds, but that's what it says about in even, for example, with the jinn. It says they're all different and this and that. So yeah, I was watching, I forget which cartoon it was, but it was another one that expressed elementals of both sides, and they both have earth, air, fire, or water. And it's like dark or light, and they make choices and all that. And so it expresses that um, because that is an actual spiritual and physical truth. Like in our material realm, there are choices of dark and light, duality. And with them, it's like that as well. This is why I've always said that not all beings are the same, and they make different choices because they returned Travis Walton. You know, they returned him, and the lady came back. You know, sometimes they're gone for days because, well, like I said, the time works differently in these other realms, and it might work quite a lot faster, in fact. Maybe sometimes slower, I don't know. Maybe the lower you go, the slower it is. So, you know, maybe the lower realms, like in hell, you'd only be gone maybe a minute, but you'd be down there a whole year, you know? Mm. You see this sometimes expressed in television shows as well, especially when they want people to be punished. And because time works differently down there, they won't leave them down there that long. That's why. So, yeah. So, with this, I mean, it's not like it means that everything in the unseen realm is malevolent and dangerous. I think that there are probably many different factors as to why they will take someone. And depending on the being that does it, well, depends on the outcome of the situation. Because sometimes a lot of the cases will have kids that are nonverbal, that can't speak to explain what they've experienced. There's that as well with David Paulides. He does some really good work. And there are a lot of people that go missing in the national parks. And I do understand that there are wild animals, that there are crazy people, that there are so many places that you can fall into and go missing. Yes, I know. I know. But some of the cases, you know, and I mean, yeah, sorry, I'm going all over the place. The lady where that she got thrown off the cliff, he said, and I quote him directly. I never forgot this story. He goes, "She was destroyed down there." So it must have been something a lot larger than her. And I would assume Bigfoot's a lot larger, you know? Now I'm not suggesting that they're all like that, but they are close to us in look and possibly even genetics. So maybe some of them just don't care. You see what I'm saying? And yeah. So of course I'm not an expert on the subject, but I thought I would connect it to, the elementals and different alien abduction types of scenarios where people are taken somewhere else and returned, and sometimes they're not returned. There's the fairies, or people go missing in the mountains, and people will say, "Oh, the little people took them," you know, or the gnomes took them, or whatever. The leprechauns took them. Where is that, in Ireland? They believe very, very strongly in that because, I mean, it may be just a word to express different beings of the unseen realm. I mean, I'm sure they know of different ones. I think they call them the Fae, which are fairies, different things like that. And they've been known to also mate with humans. That also goes back in legends and stuff like that. So if you connect it with like our folklore legends of fairies, gnomes, leprechauns, elves, and stuff like that, people being whisked away into other worlds to be returned later, you'll see that a lot in television shows, a lot of kids' television shows too, and stuff like that. hmm I found quite a few TV shows where it talks about this. There's a show, I think it was Lego again, and it was elves this time. hmm And again, they have elementals, there's gnomes. She goes into another world with a special amulet, into almost like a gateway type of portal. I will post all of the links below the stuff that I'm talking about so you can review it, and the channels and such. I always encourage you to do your own research and look into these things yourself. I will do my best to find exactly the things that I've talked about, because that woman's story, I've never ever forgotten that one. It stuck with me for years now, and it's not that it scares me. It just makes me wonder how everything is interconnected. We may think it's different subjects, but what if it's all the same one? And I'm probably not the first one to suggest that. But just like, with beings coming down from the sky and mating with human women, like the Anunnaki or the fallen angels and such, this kind of thing, it also says that the elementals will mate with human women and men as well. Sorry, I don't mean to be gender specific with that, because it's both. There are cases where, lots of people hear about the alien involvement with genetic experiments or hybrid breeding experiments and such. It could all be related together. And, I don't really know how to prevent people from being taken. That wouldn't be my area of expertise, other than having respect for the forest, maybe do some types of prayer or blessing, whatever works for you, and to have respect for the space around you, and know that there's much more to it than the eye can see. Maybe that would be, your first steps. But again, do some research into that if you're interested. I will try to link more on that below. I hope I've given you something to think about tonight. And I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I've mentioned everything, These cases aren't all under mysterious circumstances, but there are some. There is a video here where David Paulides is on Missing 411 and the spontaneous formation of portals. It's with George Norrie on Beyond Belief, and this channel is Coast to Coast AM Clips. So there's a comment here, I'll read it, from 11 months ago. It says, Dave, I've seen a portal, no joke at all. And this is what I was talking about, examples like these. I've heard tons of examples like this. No joke at all. I was sitting on a picnic table in a very large local park near a large pond and a large river. It was snowing hard and fine snow. As I sat there, listen to this part, The hair on the back of my neck and arms stood up. I even said that when I saw the being in my room of unknown origin in January 2015. This is the energetic dimensional change you will feel. Some people even suggested, like, it sounds like you saw a ghost. Well, this is in the same ballpark. It continues, I had this feeling before this happened that I was being watched, again, from the unseen realm. The park was closed due to winter, so it was empty. I started to look around and saw in the distance a large egg-shaped object, and they do look like kind of like an oval, like an egg. About 8 feet tall and about 4 feet wide. The center had a light silver shimmer, and you could see through the center, trees behind it, but no snow at all. All around it was snowing hard, but no snow inside the circle. It kept getting closer. I jumped off the table and ran up an access road until I came to the main road. I never gone back to that park. I still have dreams about it. Call me a nut. This really happened to me. This was by John Page T5Q. This was 11 months ago. It has 1,000 likes. I'll post the link below. So yeah, it's stuff like this. And they could be positioned in a place where you won't notice and you'll walk right into it. And this has happened. And people will go to other places, you know, and hopefully they find their way back. You'll see in some shows where you go through the portal, you can't see it from the other side. It might be invisible, and that's why sometimes it's invisible on our side. You walk into it without seeing it physically with your eyeballs. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the information below, and I thank you very much for watching. And take care and have a good night. And I will see you on the live stream tomorrow afternoon. Take care, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Guys, I was out here hunting, and I'm so startled right now. I think I may have stumbled across a Bigfoot. I'm just not sure. Here, let's see if you guys can tell. I'm so startled right now. I'm so startled. Yeah, it looks like there's 2 Bigfoots. I don't know. It looks like he's got a dead deer in his arm or something. I'm not sure. Oh my god, I think he sees me. I have to go. Oh. Hello everyone. This is the last section of the video. I apologize for it being a little bit jumbled up. I recorded it over several days, and I've tried to piece it back together as best as I can. This is the last section on Stargates and portals. I'm going to read something to you that I found on Reddit, and I'm not saying that it's 100% true. I'm just reading it for you to take into your consideration. I haven't been able to research this subject much further, but I found a topic on Reddit called, "Is there anyone here who has extensive knowledge about Stargates, aka travel portals?" And see, travel portals can be taken as different things. Like as I was saying in this video, it can be even just an energetic opening into another dimensional realm. It doesn't actually have to be contained inside of a constructed gate. These ones are kind of like maybe artificially, intentionally created through the manipulation of energies, yeah? So let's just read this. It says, I've just begun to do some research on this topic. It says, one thing I know for sure is that the show Stargate was officially sanctioned by the U.S. military. If you search up anything about Stargates, you will only find stuff related to the show. This is how disinformation campaigns work. I believe that show was only there to bury real stuff the military wanted hidden. I also believe that there was a gate found in the ocean in 2023, and they created a disinformation campaign to distract the media from heavy military presence in the oceans. That's what the Ocean Gate implosion was, a distraction. Every ancient civilization talks about a god that came from the sea and gave humanity advanced knowledge or technology. Egypt, for example, got their knowledge from Thoth, who was supposedly an Atlantean. Search up the Emerald Tablet. This artifact was given to the Egyptians by Thoth, and it's basically the Promethean fire of mythology. The Aztecs also built pyramids, and historians don't really know where the Aztecs originated from, but the Aztecs believe their ancestors came from an underwater realm called Aztlan, and some people believe that Aztlan is Atlantis. They also describe Atlantis as a city made of crystal like emerald. In The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy travels to a realm with an emerald city, walking by a yellow brick road. Look up Bimini Road. It's an underwater rock formation that literally looks like a giant yellow brick road, and there is speculation that its road leads to Atlantis. I believe that the Emerald Tablet was the tablet that God gave Moses. It's the same tablet that was in the Ark of the Covenant. It's why he who possessed the Ark had power over any nation. It's also something Hitler was very much aware of and was actively searching for. And the next comment is the show was not only sanctioned, the Stargate show, they worked very, very closely with the Department of Defense. Although any time a show wants to use military personnel and equipment, they have to go through the DoD Entertainment Liaison Office. There was talk through the original Gulf invasion was about the Stargate they had there. And then the next comment is, watch the 1994 Stargate movie. The whole Gulf War in 1991, which my uncle was part of, was to get the discovered Stargate out of Iraq. The whole thing of Kuwait and Desert Storm operation is just noise for the dummies. The next comment says, it seems the Sumerian god Enki was allowed to use or had control over Stargates. That sounds like an unhinged thing to say until you know this. Enki was said to be the lord of Abzu. Conventionally, they translated Ab as water and Zu as deep. So that would be a being of the water. So they take the term as referring to fresh water from underground aquifers, which was considered sacred. I think that's bullshit. Ab does indeed mean water, but it turns out that Zu in Sumerian means either deep or far. Enki's title would then have been Lord of the Far Water. That's a pretty baffling title. And if you think the far waters, that sounds like the oceans beyond the ice wall. Because there's different oceans. That's what it reminded me of. Far water, almost like more land, extraterrestrial, lands beyond the ice wall, from the lands beyond. That's just my personal commentation. It continues on. That is, until you remember how they depicted the Stargate in Stargate, a vertical portal filled with shimmering water that took you to a far place. The movie was itself, of course, a thinly disguised... Oh my God, Salem, what? Hold on a second, my cats are just acting up. Sorry about that. Marvin's doing the horny dance and Salem's all upset. She's in heat, so... where was I? Okay, that is until you remember how they depicted the Stargate in Stargate, the movie. A vertical portal filled with shimmering water that took you to a far place. The movie was itself, of course, a thinly disguised tale about the interactions of the Sumerians with alien gods. Not only that, there's a Sumerian cylinder seal that depicts Enki emerging from a vertical portal filled with shimmering water. Can't even make this stuff up. Zoo is generally a word for deep and for to know. And then it says, it's why Bush Jr. invaded Iraq for his globalist pals. The tomb of Gilgamesh was discovered in 2003 by a German archaeologist at the Great Ziggurat of Ur, in what was the city of Nasiriyah, in present-day Deir Dahikar province, Iraq. There was also the raid and looting of unknown artifacts in the Iraq National Museum in Baghdad, right as the U.S. invasion kicked off. The next comment says, all I know is the Stargate DIA project from the 70s, that however is remote viewing. The pic you got looks like the gates from SG-1. So it continues, the fallout of the Stargate caused the destruction of Mars. Now, I don't know what we're getting into here, but the fallout of a Stargate caused the destruction of Mars's atmosphere, and caused the end of the last ice age around 12,000 years ago, when the backlash struck the gate in Atlantis. The fallout of that caused the extinction of many animals and nearly wiped us out as well. If not for the survival of the teachers, we would have been stuck in the Stone Age for millennia more than we already were, and still are for some of the deep tribes. Are you certain it was 12,000 years ago? Someone asked. The Sumerian civilization dates back only to 5,000 years, and they supposedly had a Stargate. So, and we know that the timeline has been greatly altered or erased or made how they want it to look. So I'll continue on. We're at Mike 77774. This is commented 6 months ago. I have heard they have a secret base at Cheyenne Mountain where they keep one to travel to distant planets. Another one used to be in Antarctica, but they relocated it to Cheyenne Mountain after the first one got beamed up to... Okay, so I'm not sure where we're at here, but it says Thor's spaceship. At first, they thought one can only reach planets in our galaxy, but then they discovered that the seventh chevron could get to a different galaxy. Are they talking about the show now? Yeah, anyway, so there is some interesting stuff that you can find online. I'm just going to open this hidden patent for full body teleportation. Let's see what this is. It's a Google documentation. Full body teleportation system. A pulsed gravitational wave wormhole generator system that teleports a human being through hyperspace from one location to another. Okay, it's a U.S. patent, inventor John St. Clair. But anyway, I will leave this patent below if you'd like to take a look at it. I've just come across it just now. And I think that should be good. As I said, my uncle was part of the war in Kuwait in Desert Storm. And he is no longer with us. I've talked about that before. But I'd like to say thank you for listening to this video. I hope that you enjoy it. Again, everything that I talk about will be linked below. And there's a comment here that says, I believe our mind's eye, like the pineal gland or third eye, is somewhat of a Stargate, which is true. Okay, bud. So, yeah. I hope you enjoyed that. That's the end of the post. I will, like I said, document everything below. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you greatly enjoyed this video as much as I greatly enjoyed making it for you. Take care, everyone. Thank you very much for being here with me today. Have a great day. Bye.